Well, looks like I've got myself another project. The new thing is going to be a new one of these. As you can see, this is my bookcase, little bit bowed underneath there, and it's a little bit split up the top there. You can see from the other side over here, we've got the little printer shelf, which is an extra piece on there, and we've got these little mats that just sit on the top of it all, which is not that good, and a socket that is not really fit for purpose on the top. So I've gone looking through all the different websites, thought to myself, well, what can I get? Okay, so we started with the very first one, which was going to be a desktop, which looks a bit like this. As you can see, not enough bookcases and things on there as well. There is drawers to the left hand side and shelves, but it's an L-shaped one, so it doesn't quite fit this room. So the next one I was looking at, I went on to Amazon and had a good look around on some of those. Found one that was similar. This one, look. It's got the bookcase on the top, it has got the shelf, it's got the little shelf underneath it, but it hasn't got the chest of drawers. So finally I've come across with this one. Now this one, as you can see, it's got the nice desktop, it's got one chest of drawers on there, it's got the bookcase, the back panel and everything else, but again not quite long enough for what I needed. So I thought, well, there's only one other thing that I can do. I like the layout and look at all this lot, so I thought, you know what, I'll build my own. So next stage is to draw the design, which looks like this, and this is the one I'm going to take down to B&Q. Going to get myself a couple of sheets of plywood, get it all chopped up, and then I'm going to start building it myself. So I'm off to B&Q, so see you in a while, and I'll be in my workshop ready to start the manufacture soon. See you in a bit. Okay, so we've been to B&Q, we've got all the wood chopped up, it's all ready to go. So all I've got to do is piece by piece work on each section to start building this lovely custom build desk. So let's clear some of this away and make a start, and I'll show you what's coming next. Okay, so one of the first things I've got to do, I've got myself some of this iron-on edging. As you can see from the edge of this, not very clean. It's your typical plywood, different layers of wood. So the first thing we've got to do is get the iron out, get this iron-on edging. You can leave it slightly longer on the end if you want to start with, and all we do is just iron this on, and the heat of the iron will activate the glue and stick it on. So I've got to work my way through all the bits and pieces that I'm doing now. Make sure it's perfectly in line before you start, and then get a cold press, something cold, just to push down and run it along. And I've got to work my way through the whole lot of this before I start. So let's quickly turn that around, trim an edge off. Always nice if you've got a Stanley blade. So before I flick it over to the other side, we'll just trim that first cut so it's level, and then we can stand him up on his end. I find the easiest way of doing mine, once it's bowed like that, is to just press hard in the corner and bend it over, and then you get a really good sill. Line up the next piece and then get the iron out again. Start from this edge and work your way through. So I'm going to carry on with the rest of this, and we'll be back again in a second and see when it's all finished. So that's the first one done. As you can see, ironed on all the way around. Got to be sanded down, trimmed up, fill up all the edges, and I've got to work my way through the whole pack of this wood. So I'm going to carry on doing that, and then I'll come back and show you what's going to be happening next. Probably going to be working on the big desktop next. So back again in a second while I carry on with this. Okay, so all the ironing on edging's been done. A great big stack of it down the other end of the workshop ready to go. Next thing is going to be the worktop, because I don't want to have a completely square or long rectangular desktop. What I want to do is put a scoop. I'm trying to think which is going to be the best way for you guys to see it. I want to have a scoop like that. So if we're looking at it this way, down in that corner, it's going to have a scoop going down like that, and then it'll have the back piece on there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to clamp this down this end on there, get my router out, route it out, and then I'll come back and show you how it looks afterwards with the overhead camera. So back again in a second. So now you can see, even down the other end, if I put it down there, you can see I've even rounded off this corner round there. I put the iron-on edging all the way down, and if we get down to the other end, you can see how this desktop is going to look. I've got this lovely scoop all the way around here, but now this is going to be one long solid desktop piece. The next plan on this is going to be to get my
leather mat, which is going to insert in here. Okay, so normally you get these lovely gamers mats. They're nice leather with the cork underlay like that. The only problem is on most desks when you're working with it, you can see they still tend to slide around. So I don't know whether you can see, I've already done my markings for this one. I'm going to route this one out. I'll bring it down the other end so we can see. If we can just pinch and zoom in a bit on there, you can see I've got the shape of this already done, and I've just made myself like a bit like I did with the shape on the other end of this. I've just made myself two more little templates, these two bits, one for that end, one for that end, and what I've got to do is measure the depth of this one, router it out so then that can sit perfectly flush in the middle of this. It'll be glued in place after this has all been stained and finished. So back in a second. Time to set the router up. You can see from these pieces here, this is the thickness of what I'm going to be doing. So the way that we set these up, sit that one in there, unlock that, touch it lightly against the top of the nut like that, hold it slightly in place and then lock it down, and then that should just slide out. And then you can see from this piece here, this is the actual depth that we're going to be plunging into the top to put this leather case inside. Okay, trying to get this leather pad stuck into the desktop. So the way we do it, I've done my template all the way around. Remember how I did the shape of the one earlier on? This is my template for this one. I've got the router set up using this particular cutter. It's got the ball bearing which will follow these guides and cut a groove all the way through, and after that's done I've got to clean the rest of it out. So I'm going to start this one, turn the volume down, and I'll show you how it works. If it's on, yes it is, show you how it works. Always give it a second pass, and as you can see from there, it's got the groove of that already set in there. Now I'm going to change the other piece over and show you again how I'm going to clean all the rest of that out using without this template, because now it's done for the shape, the rest of it's just cleaning out to the same depth. So back in a sec. So you can see now this is the shape of the mat that's going to go inside of the desk, but we've got to clean out all the rest of this. So I've now changed the blade over in the router to a different cutter, set the depth again the way that we did earlier on the side there, and all we've got to do now is work our way through the rest of this and clean it up. So let's begin. Okay, so all of the routing's done, all that's nice and clean. If we lift it up, you can see it's got the shape ready for the mat to go in. It's been recessed in 1.9 millimeters. So now if we get the runner, instead of this doing its usual thing and slipping around on the top like it does on most desks, this will eventually, once this has all been stained up, this will then just rest in there like that and get glued in place. And that will be how the desktop will eventually look. So let's see what's next. Now the desktop's all been routed out and everything's all ready for that, we're going to get the spray gun out and start doing a little bit of spray staining. So we'll turn the volume down just a little bit and I'll show you how we're going to do it. Run around all the edges and then back onto these bits that we're going to physically see. Come round to the other side, and that's the first dust coat done. So we'll let that one dry off and I'll show you how we do it. We denib between coats and come back and do another one. So see you back in a bit. Okay, so we've got the few coats on there. You can see from this now it's going to this lovely grey look all the way through. The other thing I did do I move it down just a touch, you can see the one thing I missed earlier on was to put a hole in that side, because you know, remember me saying at the beginning that I had a socket that wasn't really fit for too much of a purpose. Once all the shelving goes up there and the mat goes in there, I needed a socket there. So I've gone out and invested in one of these type of ones where you just press the button and it just floats up like that. So that's the one that's going to be recessed in there. So the only thing we've got to do now to finish the rest of this desktop is give it a few coats of lacquer and then seal that down in the middle, and we'll come back and show you what we're going to be doing after that. So back again in a while. Okay, so the desktop has now been fully lacquered. I've even got the leather pad put on the inside. If I lift it up, you can see nice and clearly that is all embedded. This is the hole ready for the socket, so once the build is going on to be done, use just some straightforward PVA glue to stick it in there, poured it out, got my little mini roller. If I grab it, there's my little mini roller, and all I've done is just rolled it all down into there, rested it down. Once that dries off, that will be completely finished. So move those to one side. Now that the desktop is completed, let's start building some of the rest of the desk, drawer line and drawers. So back again in a while. Okay, so the next stage, now that the desktop is there and the leather pad's resting inside and gluing down, all of the sides of all the drawers, we've got to start getting these hinges connected in there so that they can slide open and shut. The problem is, you can see from there, they're 13mm thick. So if I was to put one on there and glue it on the other side, 13 and 13 are going to be losing 26mm of drawer line. So rather than do that, what I'm going to do is mark all these out, get back onto the router bench, route out a groove, and that will shrink that gap down just a little bit. So once it's done, we come back in a minute. In fact, save that, save the issue of going really slow and watching it all. Let's do it like this. Okay, that's the quick way of doing it. As you can see, I've even done all the routing, done all the staining on the insides. Even the inside part of the drawers have now got that for the runners as well. So all we've got to do, if I lift that one up to show you, the hinge can now rest perfectly inside of there and just be screwed down. So we're going to start the build now and see what's coming next. So back in a sec. Right, we're ready to start the build now. So as you can see, we're going to start putting all these things together. But before we do that, let's get a little bit of glue and stick this on the front. Make sure we've got a nice strong stick. And we can always give this a good wipe off as well. Make sure that that gets nicely glued up. You can see we're getting a nice bit of glue on the end. Always make sure you've got a rag handy as well. And then you can see the screws are going to hide on the inside, with that showing on the outside. So we line him up first, and so that it doesn't move, I've got my long clamp ready so I can hold it and clamp it into place first, just to make sure it's not going to go anywhere. And as you can see, a little bit fiddly doing these bits. And now all we've got to do, get the screws, drop them into the holes, and then this will then hold it into place perfectly. Nice and tight. And now we can take the clamp off, because that's all nicely lined up. Get the rag, make sure it's nice and clean. You can see it looks a little bit crooked, but once we get it onto the other side, that will line that up perfectly. So clean all the glue off, and then we'll work over around all the other bits. Got 3 more bits to do. Right, and this bit, because it's going to be the backing board, and we're going to have the whole back panel going in there as well, it's going to be quite difficult. If I try and explain what we're going to do, that's going to be the bottom. That is going to slot right the way down to where that groove is, but because there's no way for me to gluing this together, I'm going to cheat, just so we can hold it roughly into place. We get some of the double-sided sticky tape, a bit like we did earlier on some of the other bits, putting these runners into place. We're going to do exactly the same now with this one, because we just want something to hold it in place, and then the top part can be glued on properly. So we just cut that one off there, and we don't need any more of that. That's all sitting nicely in place. So then when we line this one up, this one should sit perfectly on there. As you can see, again, slightly fiddly. You've got to make sure we've got a slight overhang either side. and then that will be the back panel getting ready to go in that way, like that. Now you can rest that one in there and line that one up. So we carry straight on, and I'll be back again in a second. Okay, so as you can see, the first set is all done like your typical flat pack, all screwed together. Now the next stage is we've got to get the top one on top. So once that one's all screwed into place, we'll be back and we'll show you how it looks. Okay, so the first unit is now all put together. Flat pack is all complete, all screwed together. As you can see, there's just nothing in the front there. That will be screwed with these ones going up into the desktop, which will keep that perfectly open. Now the next project is going to be to make all the drawers to slide them inside. So I'll put the drawers together and show you how they look once they all fit inside. So back again in a sec. Okay, so all the drawers are now in place. Nice slow close hinges. We can just pop those in and out. Nice drawer in there. The top one. If I turn it around the other way, you can see this one is going to be my printer shelf. So when the printer goes in there, it's going to have the power coming in from the back. I can just open and close this one nice and easy, and that'll be my printer drawer. So now that all the drawers are done, nice slow close hinges all the way through. Let's move on to the final part and start building this bookcase that goes over the top. So back in a while. So the next stage has already been prepared. As you can see, nice big long bookcase shelves, all stained up, all lacquered up, uprights to go underneath the back to hold it in place. Even things like this, where it's going to be on the end, there is its counterpart. Although this bookcase is going to look like this, they're going to have little shelves going horizontally as well, so I can put some other leaflets and bits and pieces in there. So let's start doing the big build and putting it all together, and we'll see where we go from there. So see you downstairs in the room that we're going to start putting it together. So back again in a while. Right, the first part of the desk has all been done. As you can see, nice and close all the way down, pad in the middle. We've got the socket which comes up and down from in there, and all the drawers, printer drawer all ready to go, all the other drawers underneath, all looking good. Now all we've got to do is build the bookcase to go up and over the top. So let's start doing the bookcase and then we'll be finished. Okay, so here's all the bookcase, all nicely set out in top, all the desk is in place, everything fits all the way through. The only final part to do, you can see all these little joints here. The last part we've got to do is put these little caps in those. If I show you that one, and then that will cover up all the screw holes, so these are going to be glued in place, and that will be the office desk finished. Then all I've got to do is finish up making my little raised platform for the 2 screens, and then it'll be done. So back in a second with the finished product. So okay, the final finished job is here. All the bookcases all up here, all the covers. Every single one of these has covered all the things. Even the raised platform for the 2 screens are in there, completely cut out to put odds and sods inside. And you're probably thinking, well, what is this bit for? This is the final little piece. As you can see, it's supported at the back. But what we need to do is to make sure it's supported at the front at the same time. So we're just going to add this into the middle, hence this little round scoop in the front here, and that'll make sure that the whole shelf system is nice and safe. So here is Johnny the Fox's new desk. Lovely, isn't it? Thanks for watching.